Hey everybody, we're going to start soon. Hello everybody. Welcome to our workshop today. I see some familiar faces. Hello. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Thank you so much for the introduction. Welcome everybody. If we haven't met already, my name is Faye, and I specialize in figure drawing as well as faces. I'm actually a portrait artist. So today I am here to share with you some techniques on how to draw faces and uh, going over things like how to draw males versus female traits, and some tips for exaggeration, and then also how to avoid same face syndrome. Um, Same face syndrome is one of those things where you know how if you draw a face out of your head, everybody starts looking the same, right? So we want to avoid that, while also maintaining our own style. So if there's anything in particular that you are hoping to see in today's tutorial, let me know in the chat. All right, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is how to draw faces, obviously. So I'm just going to start with some very, very basic proportions, and very, very basic tips for how to draw faces. So we are going to start by drawing a face from the front. Okay, so I'm just using this, I'm trying out this new tool today, and I'm also using a program called Krita, which is a free program. And so I'm just kind of trying out a few different digital programs to see which one I like best. And this tool is actually called a mirroring tool, so it just allows me to draw half a face instead of an entire face. So try it out if you want. This is actually my first time trying it out in Krita. Awesome. Okay, so to draw faces, usually what I do is I start with the ball and shield method. Okay, so the ball and shield is probably my favorite method, only because it's just so easy to remember, and it works in all different directions. Okay, so literally it's like a ball plus a shield shape. So however, you guys draw shield shape. And then the one thing to remember though is like how big is the shield, right, on top of that ball. So if you draw a center line there, like if you just kind of draw a dot in the middle and you sort of take this length here, right? Take that length and you want to double it. So if I want to be very exact about it, I can kind of select this and then I would bring this down and put it down here, and that would be the overall proportions of the face, right? So that would be the length. And keep in mind, this is an adult face, right? This is not a child's face. Children's faces tend to be a lot shorter. But basically, if you find the chin and then you can kind of bring it up there to get a face shape. So this is probably the easiest way to come up with the general shape. And then some other things to keep in mind are where is, where do you put the nose? Where do you put the eyes? And it actually depends on the person that you're drawing and how old they are. So I'm just gonna erase these. So if you're drawing an adult, right, the midline, so if you take like the middle of this ball and shield and you like find the midline, right, you follow that midline all the way through, that's where your eyes would sit, right? So this is adult. If the person is a little bit older, their eyes might be a little bit higher up. So I'm gonna move the eye up here and I'm gonna say elder. Now the reason why older people have eyes that appear as though they're higher is only because, you know, they start losing their hair and then our faces get kind of longer, and the jaws and the ears get bigger, right? So elderly people, generally their eyes appear like they're higher on the face. However, if you're drawing a child, right? Let's say you're drawing a child, the line of the eyes would sit lower on the face, and that would appear to be a little bit cuter. So if you are going for like a cute style or a cute character, you might want to put the eyes lower on the head. Okay, so let's just go back to our general proportions. I'm just going to create a new layer here. Okay. All right, so where's my merge? There we go. Okay, so if you're drawing a face on top of this, let's just concentrate on an adult face for now. So we're going to put the eyes on the face. So generally speaking, eyes are, these almond shapes, but it depends, right? Like sometimes eyes curve up like this, and sometimes eyes can curve down like this. So if you were drawing, someone elderly, right, the eyes would probably curve down a bit more, and they might have like, slightly bigger eyelids, right? Because they're sunken in, they're a little bit older. So like older eyes tend to point down. Adult eyes, just, like I would say somebody in their 30s would be generally a little bit straighter, right? And then children's eyes can, be a little bit higher. As well as, like more kind of Asian passing eyes, more anime style eyes. Their eyes, the corners of their eyes might lift a little bit higher. And this is obviously, just a generalization. This is not, everybody. You want to avoid same face syndrome, right? So to avoid same face syndrome, you don't want to draw it like this every time. This is just something to keep in mind. Okay, so let's draw in an adult. How big you want the eyes is up to you, but generally speaking, the space in between the eyes is the same length as the eye itself, right? And then in terms of eyebrows, so I like to draw the eyes in first only because it's kind of easier for me to figure out where I want the face and all that. or where I want the rest of the traits. But if you bring a line straight down from the corner of the eye like this, so I'm just going to bring the corner of the eye down like that. If you bring like a straight line down from the corner of the eye like this, that's sort of where the nose sits, right? So generally speaking, the nose would sit like that. And how far down does the nose go? You know, it really depends. If you're drawing an older face, noses will be bigger. If you're drawing a younger face, noses will be smaller. And, you know, obviously noses are all different, but the mouth will generally be about 1/3 of the distance between the nose and the chin, right? So I'm going to draw a mouth that's curving slightly like that. This is just a very, very simple face. These are just to get a sense of proportions. This face is stylized a little bit, like the eyes are a little bit bigger than in real life. But how you want to stylize it is up to you. In terms of lashes, you know, generally speaking, if you're drawing males, if you're drawing male faces, we don't really want to give, you know, really, really long lashes. If you're drawing female faces, you know, maybe you can add a little bit of a lash, but adding a little bit doesn't really hurt, like just a little bit. Usually the lashes are longer in the corner, right? And then we're going to draw the eyebrows. So a lot of people have trouble sketching out eyebrows. And generally speaking, let me turn this off, but generally speaking, when you draw an eyebrow, you know, think of it as a shape and not as a line, right? If you just think of it as a line, it kind of looks a bit like a mime or like a clown, you know? So if you're drawing a clown, maybe this is fine, but you kind of want to think of it as a shape. So whether that shape is more square or whether that shape is more round, you know, typically speaking, thicker, kind of more angular eyebrows are more male. So males, you know, have thicker, more angular eyebrows, and then females, whoops, females have, you know, slightly thinner and more curved. And this, you know, this is not just limited to eyebrows. This is also limited to, this also applies to the face in general. So, you know, females will have rounder features and males will have more angular features. So generally females will have softer features. But there's lots of females that have, you know, thicker eyebrows and they look great, right? So that's a very generic looking face. Okay, so necks. So let's talk about necks for a second. So this face, it's hard to tell whether it's male or female. I kind of drew it in a way that it's very gender neutral. But now let's stylize it to make it a little bit more distinctly male or distinctly female. So let me just put my notes somewhere else. All right, so when we are drawing necks, does anyone have trouble drawing necks? Like if you draw a neck, you might notice that it looks wrong. And maybe you're not sure why. But male necks tend to be thicker. So like if I drew a neck like that, it makes this face look male, right? Like distinctively male. It's like, whoa, if I did this, he would look even more male. Now watch this. Watch while I turn this character into a more of a female by just changing the neck. Now look at that, right? So females have thinner necks, right? So females have thinner, I'm going to say thinner necks. Whoops. I want to make sure I do this on the right layer. Thinner necks. Thicker necks. Necks, eyebrows. Right? And children's necks are also thinner. So children has traits of both male and female characteristics. So for example, children will have necks that are generally thinner like females, but they'll have body types that are more like males. So yeah, it really depends. So if we want to make her more female, we can curve her eyebrows a little bit more. Now look at that, and she looks more female. If we want this character to look more male, you know, we can give them thicker eyebrows. So thicker eyebrows closer to the eyes, right? Male male eyes and eyebrows in a lot of cartoon characters tend to be very close to the eye, whereas female characters, their eyebrows tend to be farther away from the eye, right? So all of those things will change the characteristics. Okay, so we're turning her back into a female here. Okay, and then older people, so here I'm gonna turn her into an old lady now. So older people will have more, obviously more wrinkles. Older people generally have thinner lips. So let's just say I want them to be a little bit older. So I can, you know, give them thinner lips, right? I could put some bags under their eyes. I can make their eyebrows, you know, a little bit bushier, a little bit shorter. All of these things will make this character look a little bit older. Okay, so the eyes look quite young. If I wanted them to look older, I can just, like already without that line, they look a little bit older, but like, let's say, you know, I made the eyes a little bit deeper, right? Now they look older. If I make the corners of the eye a little droopier, now they look older. So, you know, you can have a lot of fun with how you draw your characters just based on these different characteristics. Now, older faces, like it looks like an old face, but like down here, it looks very youthful, right? So what we want to do is, let's erase this neck and let's modify the chin a little bit. Let's modify the chin. And what we can do is, you know, draw here. I'm going to elongate the chin completely. Right? Remember how I said older faces tend to be longer. So if I elongate this chin and then I give them more of like a droopy, some slight droop here. Right? Now it looks like a young grandma. You know, I can make this person look older if I wanted to, but you get the idea. It's actually really fun watching faces transform like this. Um, so yeah, so that's sort of the basics of faces from the front and proportions. Some other things you might want to keep in mind is, let's go back to the proportions layer here. Some other things you might want to keep in mind are where the ears align. So let's create a new layer, and I'm going to stop using this mirror tool. Whoops. Here we go. Okay, so let's talk about faces from the side. Okay, because I know, you know, faces from the front is a little bit easier than faces from the side. The other thing you'll notice is that I didn't draw this line here. So I see a lot of people draw noses like this, and it's like really weird looking. So don't do that. If somebody, like most likely, depending on the lighting, there might be a little bit of a line, right? But it's almost always broken. And if there is a line, it would kind of, you know, start at the top and then you would see a little bit of it, you know, depending on the light source. But don't draw a garlic as a nose, okay? Because it just looks not good. It just looks really, really bad. So don't do that. Okay, let's draw let's draw a face from the side. Now, the ball and shield on the side uh, kind of looks like this, right? So the shield is a little bit curved. So you don't, you know, shields are curved, right? Think about it. You're not going to be using a flat shield. um Thank you. Yeah, I've sometimes, you know, the circles are really hard to draw, so you have to practice them. Um, but thank you. Yeah, that's not a bad circle. Okay, so shields, typically speaking, if you think of a shield, actually our wonderful mod is named Shield and he's here. Hello. You know all about shields, but on the side, right, they kind of look like this. Okay, so they're curved like this. So if I was to draw it from the side, it would kind of be like this, right? So think of it as if, you know, this person's kind of got this curve, and you can feel this part of the shield is right in the middle, and then the neck goes this way. Okay, so I drew a very thin neck, right? If you want to draw a thicker neck, like let's say you want to draw a male neck, right, it can be thicker like this. Okay, but don't draw necks like this. Don't do this. This is not how necks sit on bodies, okay? Necks are not straight up and down. If you draw a neck like this, it's going to look really awkward once the body's in. Okay, yeah, it kind of looks like an ostrich or a giraffe. If you're drawing an ostrich or a giraffe or an emu, it might be okay, but even those creatures have more curves in their necks. Usually necks have a bit of a curve, right? So if your head is here, right, your neck is like this, and then your rib cage curves forward, and then your hips curve backwards. So this type of curve is really, really important in a body. So yeah, please don't draw necks like ostriches, okay? It's got a curve. It's hard to see on the side. Sorry, it's hard to see on the front, but from the side, it's very, very obvious. Okay, so let's draw a neck like this. Make sure that it's got that curve. Okay, and then, you know, it would attach. So if you're looking at a face exactly from the side, you may not see the bottom of the chin, right? It may just kind of go up like that. But if you're looking from below, right, you'll see a little bit of the bottom of the chin. So if you're looking at a face and you don't know which direction it's facing, look for the bottom of the chin. If you can see the bottom of the chin, then you know you're looking up at the face, right? Or the face is tilted upwards. If you can't see that, right, then the face is tilting downwards. If the face is straight, this line would, maybe it wouldn't go up as much. Maybe it would be like that. So just look for those traits. So you can see as soon as I make the jaw more square, it tends to look more male, right? The last jaw looked more female, so just keep those traits in mind. So this figure, I'm going to draw a male. I'm just going to make the neck a little bit thicker, like that. Okay, so where to place a nose? When I'm drawing a face from the side, I generally don't start by drawing the eyes. I start by drawing the ears and the nose. And you might be like, why? But because ears and noses are really easy landmarks for drawing a face. Okay, so if you take the bottom of that circle and you kind of bring it this way on a side profile, that's kind of where the nose sits, right? So if I drew a nose, right, I would put the nose about there. Now that's kind of a big nose. If I wanted to draw, you know, a smaller nose or like a kid's nose, right? Kid's nose might look something like that, right? Oh, now they look like an adolescent because they've got a smaller nose. And if you're drawing an older person, right? Older people have more bulbous noses. And that's because our noses and our ears never stop growing. So if you draw like a big bulbous nose, that character is going to look older. If you draw a tiny nose or no nose, that person's going to look younger. And that adds to the appeal and the cuteness of young faces. So, sorry, of anime faces and like stylized faces. So I'm just going to draw like a very general nose here. And okay, so once I draw the nose, if I bring sort of the line, you know, from the top and the bottom of the nose, that's where you would find the ear. Okay, so noses and ears are aligned. They always have an alignment. Doesn't matter which direction the face is, there's always a line. So I don't really draw a lot of detail in the ear. The only reason I draw the ear is because the bottom of the ear connects to the jaw, right? So I just had to move it over. If you feel where your jaw ends, it ends at your ear. Okay. Now, if I wanted to draw in the rest of the face, you can see that like when I add the nose, the mouth seems like it's really far away. And that's because the mouth has a bit of a curve to it, right? Our mouths have this sort of, it has like a bit of a circle, that like a semicircle, like a half circle, right? So if I'm looking at it from the side, it's like this. Kind of like that. Okay, and then the chin will also sit at the bottom. So sometimes, you know, you can make this a little smaller. So let's say I make it like that. And then there's the chin. Some people don't have very pronounced chins, but usually this indentation is the bottom of the lip. So if I drew the lip in like this, remember the lip is about 1/3 of the way down, right? If I drew the lip like this, and then the upper lip like this, this would be the bottom lip, right? So I will talk about how to draw faces at more difficult angles in a separate workshop. But today we're just going to go over how to draw a face from the front and from the side. So these are just very basic tips. Similar to the mouth, your forehead also has volume, right? So you can see that if it's just here, if it's just touching that circle, it doesn't look super realistic. If you feel the bone structure at the top of your nose, there's a little bit of a bump, right? Right here, that bump. And that's what, you know, that's why noses kind of look like this, right? This bump is in shadow, similar to the bottom of the nose, whereas the top of the nose has light, right? So that bump connects to the forehead. So you want to make sure you add a little bit of that there. And then eyes will generally be within that dip. Okay, so this dip here, right? Um, that's kind of where your eyes will sit, or slightly below that. So the top of the eye would kind of start here. Right? And then the eyebrow might also start here. So now I meant to make this character more male, so I'm gonna get rid of the eyelashes. It's funny how something as simple as eyelashes can make a character just like look a different gender. Okay. Yeah, so I remember that when you draw eyes, like eyes are one of those things where it's like a lot of people will draw a face from the side, and then they draw the eyes like this, right? That's too long. Like if you look at eyes from the side, they are not this long. Like an eye from the front, if an eye from the front is this long, you know, an eye from the side would be half of the length. Okay, so if an eye from the front is like this, right? An eye from the side should be half of that. Okay, so you know, unless you're drawing like an anime style character where their eyes are like, you know, super exaggerated, you know, like this, um, then maybe it would be really long from the side. But usually, if you're just drawing like a regular human, their eyes would not be that long. So that's a common mistake that I see people make, is that they'll draw eyes like too long from the side, right? So how would you know? You just kind of double it. So if you double it, you know, you can start to see the actual proportions are incorrect. Okay, so we drew a face from the front and we drew a face from the side. We kind of talked about how faces change in terms of aging. We talked about male and female faces. Were there anything that, I'm just going to ask you guys now, is there anything that you would like to see me cover? Anything else? Because I will kind of move on to some tips on stylization, mostly with just some examples. But let me know if you guys have any questions about proportions. I'm just going to draw some hair. Oh, the other thing is male hair. Um, you know, it kind of brushes forward, whereas female hair brushes backwards, right? Female hair brushes backwards, male hair brushes forward. If I wanted this nose to be more male, because right now it looks more female, I'm just going to add some more angles. I'm going to add more angles to the face in general, and then it will appear more male. Do you have tips for placing the hairline? Uh, yes. So, uh, one common thing that I see a lot of people forget when they're drawing hair are sideburns. Sideburns are really important. Like, you know, they don't have to be super prominent on a person, but you know, generally speaking, a lot of people forget that there are sideburns. Some tips for drawing hair is hair is soft. Okay, so don't use hard edges when you're drawing hair. If you're drawing line art, you know, make the line art feel a little bit more flowy, right? Like versus, you know, this type of line. The other thing the other common mistake I see with hair is drawing too many lines. Like, you know, someone's drawing hair and then they're like, oh, okay, this is what the hair looks like. Hair, the best way to draw hair is to think of it as a shape and then give it some values. And then you can study hairstyles. Like, you guys, you don't have to draw everything out of your head, okay? Use reference pictures. It will help you avoid same face syndrome if you just kind of, you know, use more references. You'll be able to see all of those nuances that you may not have thought about when you're drawing different faces. Okay, so before we end this, I wanted to show you some different ways you can stylize faces. So obviously, you know, these are very general proportions, right? But if you wanted to stylize a face, I just want to talk about a couple of things. One of them is the idea of appeal. And appeal is, you can see it. I gathered some references here so we can look at them together, okay? So what gives something appeal? Appeal is also a principle of animation, and it's what makes animation really fun to look at. Okay, so let's look at some different styles of faces. Great drawings, guys. You guys are doing like 3/4 view. Nice. Okay, so if we look at Disney style faces, right? Disney style faces, they generally will make the eyes bigger. The noses are quite simple. You'll notice that none of them have that kind of garlicky line, right? Only when a face is tilted from the side will you see that. Generally speaking, Disney style characters will have you know, pretty human-like proportions. Like, you'll notice like Asian characters here. Hold on, let me make a new layer. Disney's very good about drawing different ethnicities or being, you know, more inclusive in that sense. So for example, like with Mulan, you can see, you know, the way the eyes are exaggerated, right? The corner of the eye here is a little bit higher, right? So it's kind of got this like cat-like eye with a lifted corner. And so that's kind of what gives it that eye shape. My eyes are kind of like that as well. And then you can tell with, you know, like Belle or with someone like Jasmine, right? Their eyes have the bigger fold up at the top, right? So they still sort of tilt upwards because that gives it the youthful look, but you can see, you know, the fold is a little bit bigger. And like, look at the pupil size. Look at the pupil size of Mulan and the general eye size of her versus the eye size of Princess Jasmine, right? Very exaggerated. So a lot of the exaggeration happens in the eye. The mouth looks pretty similar. Like, I wouldn't be able to tell you that, you know, Moana's mouth, it doesn't look that different than Mulan's mouth, except for, you know, she doesn't really have this V shape at the top of the lip there. You know, you can look at some of the similarities. Disney males, look at their chiseled faces, right? Long chins, same type of, like, you know, big square jaw, this chisel versus, you know, the female girls or the Disney girls, right? They have sort of pointy faces. Not a lot of chisel going on. Look at the thick neck. Like, look at Eric's thick neck. Like, look at the bottom of his neck, right? It's like as wide as his face, right? So these are some characteristics. Like, even if you drew a very kind of feminine looking character, but you gave them a really thick neck, right? They're still going to look very masculine. So I think that's kind of the most helpful thing. Okay, so let's look at some other style examples. So anime faces. So anime has so much appeal because it has just super, super exaggerated features. Now, the one thing I love about anime is that you can have like the whole character can totally change. Like the style of it can totally change depending on their expression, right? So, some of the characteristics that I really like, anime eyes when they are angry, the pupils are tiny or just completely gone. Um, a lot of the male characters have those angular eyes, like we talked about. Like look at the angle here. Even these ones, like even though they're round, and this is a very childlike character, it still has a combination of angles and curves. Um, this character appears more female, right? A little bit more female, um, but they still have like those chiseled eyebrows here to like super, super exaggerated eye shapes that kind of are like long like this. And the eyebrow touches those eyes. Like there's no space between the eyebrows and the eyes. Like look at all these characters, these male angry looking characters. Their eyebrows run right into their eyes. Um, yeah, like really, really thick eyebrows on Goku. And then like even this character tends to feel more like a lot more simplified, right? Super, super simplified. But this is just one style. He actually changes depending on his mood. Same thing with anime female characters, like female characters, even though they may have some angles in the eyes, right? They're generally a lot more curves. Like there's a lot more curves in the eyes, and they're a lot more simplified. The females barely have a nose. It's kind of like this, or not at all, or maybe just like a shadow where the nose would be, or a line and like a little nostril there, right? So worth studying the traits just to see how far you can push it. Okay, so just a couple more and then we will move on. So Marvel characters. Marvel characters really are more human looking than the Japanese anime style, right? They're sort of more, they're based on more sort of realistic human proportions, but just simplified. And it has a lot of the traits that we talked about, male versus female. And this is a one of my favorite illustrators, Quentin Blake. He illustrated all of Roald Dahl's children's book stories, and so whimsical. I love his style. Like I just every time I see his style, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to draw like this. It's so much fun. Like it looks like the illustrator just is just laughing the entire time and just like, sketch, 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 draw some squiggly lines and then like splash of color and I'm done. Like I wish I could draw like this. Funny enough, I'll show you my illustration style, but like even if you look at his faces, right? All of his faces are different. Like this guy's got small eyes, big nose, and like a mouth. These guys have like big eyes, right? Like this type of mouth. Love that simple expression. And then from the side is really just like right? Super, super fun and whimsical. Um, I, you know, he's a personal favorite, but just to show you kind of the range. Even though I love Quentin Blake's art, my art is a lot more rendered. It's a lot more finished. This is kind of the style I like to work in. So this is this is my OC, Seal Boy, one of my OCs. He's actually a circus freak. He's a boy born with the face of a seal. And I redrew him in my most recent stream on Saturday. It was a stream on how to study clothing. And I got a lot of comments about how scary he was. About like, oh my gosh, he's so creepy. he must scare old folks. You know, like he would hide behind a dumpster and scare old people or something like that. I got a lot of comments like that. And I thought it was funny because, you know, he is scary. Like he's meant to be a, um, you know, not a good looking person, or, you know, your classic kind of beautiful anime uh, woman, man, or child. Yeah, he was born, you know, with not so beautiful features, but there's still a way to make him kind of cute. And you know, it's with exaggerating the eyes. It's with expression. It's with clothing and things like that. So I really like the kind of creepy cute style. It's not your typical style, but it's kind of the one that I enjoy working in the most. So yeah, I hope that you guys found this workshop interesting and helpful. Um, does anyone have any questions before we end the stream? I'm just going to give you guys a minute. But if you were drawing along with us, and if you want to follow us on social media and share your artwork, you can follow us at Wing Canvas. We love art nerds. A lot of our community are, you know, big fans of, you know, designing characters, making fan art, aspiring illustrators, artists, and animators. So come join our community at Wing Canvas. And if you want to learn more, you can visit our website at wingcanvas.com. I am teaching camps this summer, so I will be teaching figure drawing camp in July and in August. So it's an intensive figure drawing camp, and it's 4 hours a day, and you will level up your figure drawing skills. And you can also catch me online, live on YouTube. I usually stream on Saturdays. You guys are welcome. Yeah, thank you so much, XP Pen, for this amazing, for sponsoring these opportunities for everybody to learn. If you guys want to know what tablet I use a XP Pen Artist 15.6 Pro, and it actually, I really like it because it doubles as a monitor. So I actually have 3 monitors with this tablet, and yeah, I really like it. Like even their beginner ones are pretty simple to use, just like plug and play. And I've been using a non-screen tablet for most of my time with digital art, and so I got this tablet I think 4 years ago, and yeah, it's been great. Yeah, you guys are welcome. It was my pleasure. And I will make sure that the this lesson is being recorded, so you can have access to the recording if you'd like. All right, guys, I will see you 2 Wednesdays from now, same time and place. So 2 weeks from now, we will be doing another workshop. And let me actually tell you what we have going on. So we've planned 4 workshops in this series. And so the first one is how to draw faces. The second one is actually how to draw heads in difficult angles. So that one is a little bit more advanced. We're going to go over difficult head angles, kind of how to approach them, and you know, how to think about heads as structures and 3D forms versus just you know, lines and flat flat lines. And then we have 2 workshops happening in July as well. So stay tuned for those. One will be how to draw expressions, and the other will be how to draw hands. All right, well, thanks again, XP Pen, for sponsoring this workshop, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!